I asked ChatGPT to recommend me one horror movie that it genuinely believed could scare me, something that would make me uncomfortable sitting there watching it. And the movie that it gave me was The Dark and the Wicked. So I watched it with one question in mind. Does AI actually understand what makes something scary? Would it actually recommend a good quality horror movie that is unsettling? Now, before watching The Dark and the Wicked, I had never heard of it before. Now, looking at the poster for this movie, it kind of sets the tone for what we're going for. The dark red and the black really set the tone for the atmosphere of this movie. It kind of gives me Insidious vibes with the color scheme and the woman floating over the house. And you know, when ChatGPT recommended this movie to me, I was not skeptical at all. In fact, I was enthralled and intrigued. Because currently, I'm reading a book right now that I asked ChatGPT to recommend me, and it is genuinely one of the best books that I've ever read. I'm still reading it right now. So because of that, my expectations for this movie going into it were high. Now, the normal kind of horror movie that gets me are more of the possession-esque movies, the demonic entities, the movies that fall under the category of The Conjuring. The slasher movies don't really do it for me. They're very predictable, very surface-level storytelling, and it's just a killer going around, you know, nuking everybody off of the movie. Now, if you're new here, these kind of movie reviews we do a bit differently. We break them up into categories of story writing, characters and performances, and pacing and production. By the end of every category, I will rate it from a scale of 1 to 10. So without further ado, let's get into it. Now, the underlying question that everyone's asking, is it an actual good movie? Short answer, yes, but we're gonna get into why as we go through the categories. Now, this movie is about two siblings that go back to their family farm because their father is dying despite their mother telling them not to come. Now, she never really makes clear why the kid should never come back. So, of course, just like kids do, they come back and they realize that there's a lot of fuck shit going on. A bunch of deeply disturbing and sinister events that they were not ready for. Now, this is a demonic possession kind of movie, but it's not your traditional Conjuring, demonic possession kind of thing. It's very clear that there's something there disturbing the peace, but the movie purposely gives a lack of explanation as to what this entity actually is. And I think it adds to the story more than it harms it, because it leaves it up for interpretation, even though when you look at this movie, it will be kind of clear what the interpretation is. And I think it actually is way more disturbing than just a demon, a random demonic demon coming in and possessing a family. Now, the entity and demon in this movie is the devil. That's what it's described as in the movie, but they never give you an actual explanation as to what or where this demon is coming from. It lacks that explanation, and the director does this on purpose. And I think it really adds to the suspense and horror of the movie, not knowing exactly what you're dealing with. It leaves it a bit ambiguous, but at the same time, there are elements in dialogue in the movie that will make it pretty easy to infer what exactly we're dealing with. And I think the vague implies of this movie actually make it a lot more disturbing when you piece together what this is and what the purpose behind this entity actually is there for. It makes it a lot more disturbing than, you know, your average demonic possession film, in my personal opinion. Now, you'll notice when you watch this movie that grief is a major part of this movie. Grief and guilt, right? This is what keeps them around and really extends their stay more than it should. But it humanizes it in a way that honestly anybody who's looking after their parents would understand. It's not an easy choice to just up and leave, especially the situation that the dad is in. I think the grief is an extremely strong element of this film that kind of separates you from thinking, why are the characters doing this or that? In so many horror movies, the characters just make downright dumb decisions with no real context as to why they're making those decisions. It's usually out of just pure foolishness, but this movie really incorporates real life hardship problems that is not easy to choose at all. It will keep almost anybody that loves their parents in this place for an overextended period of time. And with that being said, that leads me into the point by saying the character decision making in this movie is very reasonable. They do not make any unreasonable or stupid decisions or actions in this movie. Everything is calculated to the situation at hand, right? It's not like they're just running into danger just because, no. Every single decision that we see these characters in this movie make hold a lot of weight. The movie does a really good job at establishing enough context for each of the characters for you to truly care about them. They show you that they're good, caring people that are just trying to do good by their family. And the brother and sister dynamic that the two main characters in this movie have are very believable, from the way that they interact with each other, the conversations that they have, the little bickering. They do a good job at making it feel very authentic and not forced. I think one of the most disturbing aspects of this movie is that you never really get a clear explanation of what the demonic presence wants. And like I said a little bit earlier, you really need to see this movie in order to get the context of why the lack of clarity as to what the devil in this movie wants and as to why they chose this family. I don't think the movie needed to explain it anymore. I think leaving it ambiguous was the best thing that they could have done. And one thing I really liked about this movie is that there's actual story progression. When you go into this movie, don't expect the most elaborate plot twist, the most complex storytelling. That's not what you're getting. But you are getting more depth within the actual situation that they're dealing with. And the characters play a very pivotal role in terms of your care and investment and immersion into this movie. And not only is the story progression a highlight of this movie, but as you get further into the movie, it gets a lot more disturbing. Overall, I genuinely think this is a great story with the complement of extremely effective collections of horrible things that happen to the two main characters in this movie. So for the category of story and writing, I'd give it a solid 8 out of 10. Now we get into the characters. I think this is one of the strongest aspects of this film. Every single character in this movie you care about, and there's a very important reason why. There isn't a lot of characters. There's probably about 8 to 9 characters, maybe 10 total in this movie. The movie gives enough detail about the characters for you to actually care about them. And not only does it give you enough detail, but the actors are genuinely good. So the movie primarily focuses on 3 people: Louise, Michael, and the mother. Now the person who played Louise did an amazing job. Louise is the daughter in the movie. And you see that she's this very empathetic, caring individual. You know, she really wants to be there for her parents. And ultimately, she takes over as the primary caregiver of her father. I think the Louise character really does a terrific job at showing the empathetic side of the movie. All of her scenes where she's terrified are very convincing. You definitely feel throughout the movie, which also plays an extremely important role in your care for her character. This whole movie, she's stressed. And it is one of the most accurate depictions of stress in the situation that she's given. Now Michael, he's the brother of Louise, and he's also very good in this role. Michael plays that pivotal brother role that really holds it down. You know, even though he's scared, he's not really freaking out. He brings more of a level mind to the movie. I don't know if this is gonna make sense, but you feel like that masculine kid, where he's not over the top reacting like Louise is. He brings like that gentle giant kind of ambiance to the movie that stands his ground when needed. And the character the movie mainly revolves around is the mother. This bitch is creepy. From the moment you set eyes on her in this movie, you understand that something is deeply wrong with her. Not even her, but the surroundings, like her environment. You know that she's being troubled by something. And even though she's not plagued with lines in a movie, every single time she's on screen, whether she's speaking or not, you feel this sense of helplessness, like she's given up and that the devil that is surrounding her farm has already won and is coming for her. And there's nothing she can do. And majority of the disturbing moments in this movie have to do with this woman right here. Now there are other characters like Chris, I believe his name is, who is like the farm help. He does a really good job as well. And the father is an extremely important part of this movie too. Even though he doesn't speak, his presence is most definitely felt because he's like a symbol in the movie. Another highlight of the characters in this movie is that there are no overreactions. Everything is perfect for the situation that's given. When they're supposed to be absolutely terrified, they do an amazing job of doing that. One thing that I really love about this film is towards the end of it, Louise and Michael make 2 very different decisions on how they handle, you know, the scenario at hand. Very different decisions, but neither of their decisions are wrong, right? They're both very fair, very, very fair in what they choose to do, but the decision that they make is consistent with their characters. To be honest with you, it's very consistent with their characters. And it's consistent with the backstory that they give. That's why I really love how they set up these characters, because one of their decisions really makes sense for their current life, and the other, based on their background or the lack of, makes sense for the decision that they ended up making. It really is just a terrific movie in regards to fleshing out the characters. I really, really love that they did not add a whole bunch of characters like some other movies, and they just kept it very concise, very small, very intimate, because I'm telling you, the character exposition in this movie is terrific. So for the characters and performance section, I would give a strong 8.5 out of 10. Now first things first, who the fuck would want to live here? Okay, this is just asking for demonic possession to happen. This is like a demonic, this is like if you went on YouTube and searched up how to be possessed by a demon 101, they would tell you to just go to a house, like go and live in an area like this. Go and live in a house like this and you will complete your goal. Now, as far as the location of this movie goes, the setting, I think it is very fitting for this movie. It's nothing really unique per se. You know, in a lot of these demonic possession films, we see it in a farm-like setting, right? That's where it usually happens, in a very remote, isolated location. Now, even though it's pretty generic, I do think they did a really good job with this. The director does a terrific job in utilizing the space, right? In this movie, you'll notice there's a lot of empty space, and it adds to the unsettling factor of this movie. It shows you that they're far from anything city-wise. Like, it is just them out there. It is pitch black. You hear coyotes in the background. You hear all of these animals that you would associate with far-out wilderness. They're there. Oftentimes, the characters are surrounded by darkness in this movie. And I could just be talking shit out of my ass, but I do believe that it is very symbolic of what, you know, the devil engulfs himself in. It's darkness, right? And many times, they are just surrounded by darkness, which adds to the vulnerability of these characters and really shows how helpless they are, because they are in the claws of the devil in this movie. There's nowhere for them to go. They're always surrounded by darkness. Things such as empty rooms, doorways, windows, they all play a major part in creating that unsettling, disturbing Is there going to be a jump scare? Is there not going to be a jump scare? Effects that this movie has. There are many on and off scenes where things appear in the distance. It's predictable, but it's not at the same time, because there are things that appear in a far distance, but it's never really at the times that you think, right? It comes at the most random times that you won't really expect, and that adds to the element of a jump scare. It's kind of like the director's pump faking, and then he decides to shoot with the jump scare. So the unpredictability of this film in terms of the jump scares and when things come out and when the disturbing things happen, it's gonna have you grabbing the edge of your seat in anticipation of what's to come. But you never know when it's actually gonna come, but you know it's gonna come. It's just a matter of, is it on the first pump fake, the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and then it finally gets you. One thing that's pretty unique about this horror movie that I don't see in a lot of others is how important what the camera isn't actually showing is to the movie, and adds to the fright as well. Because you hear this talking when the camera's not even on what the actual demonic subject is, but it gives you a sense of closeness, that it's in the room, that it could pop up from anywhere at any time. And the movie's pretty fucking graphic as well. When it gets there, it really gets there. In my personal opinion, it's nothing too crazy, but it's just the right amount of gore for it to be extremely effective. I don't think there's any wasted images. The lighting really fits the atmosphere of this movie as well. So all in all, for the direction and cinematography, I would give it a solid 9 out of 10. Now, one very underrated aspect that makes a great horror movie is the pacing and production. And this movie had fantastic elements of that, okay? There are a lot of unexpected sounds in this movie that are warrant for a jump scare in my personal opinion, and they would be extremely effective if you were seeing this in a movie theater. Now obviously this movie is not in theaters. I saw this on my TV streaming platform. I rented it off of Amazon Prime. That's how you know it's good. I fucking rented the movie. But like I was saying, there are very unexpected sounds, very common sounds too, that aren't typically used in horror movies as jump scares, but it plays a very pivotal role for the jump scares, but outside of that, leading up to jump scares, which cause for the unpredictability that I mentioned earlier. You never know when it's gonna come. There are sounds like footsteps, whispers, animals, doors, breathing, silence. They do a very good job at using silence in this movie, guys. A very good job at using silence in this movie, right? It adds to the landscape. It's a lot of isolated spaces. It's a lot of emptiness, nothingness, nothing for miles. And this movie really utilizes the silence to emphasize that. Like, there is not shit here for miles, motherfucker. They could have easily ruined this movie with a bunch of loud sounds all over, like a loud musical score, but no. They let you sit in the uncomfortability of silence. And it plays very pivotal roles for whenever you're in a dark ass scene. It's quiet, and then something fucking pops out of nowhere. You know what I'm saying? After the pump fakes. And it's not just a jump scare and stop. It's like 10 seconds of a disturbing ass image, a disturbing ass event that's about to happen. It's almost like the producer had like one shot and he was like, fuck it, nigga, do or die. The pacing of this movie. This is where I might lose some of you guys, okay? Now, if you are a person that likes constant action, right? Let's say you're a fan of Halloween, Friday the 13th, like Terrifier, right? If you're a fan of those slasher type of horror movies where it's like a very generic plot line but a lot of action, this isn't the movie for you, right? If you're into a movie that really takes its time getting into the plot, but setting aspects of the movie up perfectly to properly move forward the movie, this will be the movie for you, right? It is a slower paced movie, but they do it in such a good job. I'm telling you, the tension in this movie makes the slow burn effortless, okay? In my personal opinion, there wasn't a dull moment in this movie. It was a slower movie, right? If you're coming in this bitch for constant kills and kills and kills, you're not gonna get that. Okay? There are deaths in this movie, don't get it wrong. And when there's a death, it's very impactful and meaningful. But there's only like 10 characters, okay? And trust me, you will see the pivotal role that each of them play when it's time for them to be on screen. There's no dull moments, none of that, right? It's constant suspense, on the edge of your fucking seat, grabbing onto something, asking yourself, all right, when is it gonna happen? When is it gonna happen? What's gonna happen next? It's amazing, okay? For all those people that enjoy a good slow burn movie, trust me, this is a good ass movie and it'll be right up your alley. So for the pacing and production, personally, this one out of all of them, I think is the most objective one. I'd say it's a 8 out of 10. Now that we finished the categories, it's time to get into the real question. Did ChatGPT actually recommend me a good, scary, unsettling horror movie? Yes, the fuck it did. This was one of the best horror movies that I've seen in a little minute, right? For me, this is the second best horror movie I've seen this year. For me, Obsession is over this still, just because the subject matter is a lot more relatable. But this is as good as a demonic possession movie gets. You know, there's genuinely unsettling, scary moments in this movie that have you pretty much saying to your screen, like, what the fuck is this? Like, what's going on? If you imagine yourself in that situation in real life, you would shit your pants. You would straight up shit yourself on the floor and just die of a heart attack. The one aspect of this movie that I really enjoyed, like I said in the beginning, was the ambiguity. I think I said that word right. The ambiguity, or fuck it, man, I don't know if I'm using that word right. How ambiguous they leave the actual demon, demonic, devil entity in this movie. The Strakers don't believe in God or the devil, right? Their father begins to die, and a genuinely supernatural entity, possibly the devil himself, they refer to him as the devil in the movie, come for him and begins to destroy every fucking person that comes encounters with him. The father is pretty much the vessel of this devil. And it's not the fact that they don't believe in God or the devil, right? It's the fact that it could be there and there's nothing they can do to stop that shit, right? There's a scene with the priest and they're kind of telling the priest like, oh no, it couldn't be the devil. Our family doesn't believe in that shit. And he's like, yo, whether you believe in that or not doesn't stop it from actually existing. The priest uses a really good example in the movie, and it was something along the lines of like, if something, you might not believe in a wolf, but a wolf is fucking there, it's real. You might not believe a wolf is eating your sheep, but the wolf is fucking there. You know, it could be very well there eating the sheep. Sure, it could be another animal, but it could definitely be the wolf. And the same premise is used in this movie, like, hey, just because you don't believe in the devil or God doesn't mean that that motherfucker isn't there. Okay? Whether you like to believe it or not does not make it an end all be all. Which I think makes it even more disturbing. The way that they put it in this movie and the way that they describe it and make you really come to the conclusion yourself is horrifying. Because it's true. Just because you believe, and it goes outside of the movie, right? This is real life. This is a real life theory that it comes into play. It's not some crazy lore about some entity from another fucking dimension. None of that shit. It's on the most controversial topic out there. Is God and the devil real? Many people dispute that shit every single day. So it uses one of the most controversial topics and puts it in the most humanizing way, the most simple way, the most surface level, terrifying way that you can possibly imagine. Whether you think it's the devil or not, something is there fucking y'all up. So you better stay prayed up. If you want a good horror movie to watch, I would watch that shit. You will enjoy it. I'm telling you right now, you will enjoy it. It is a very well fleshed out movie. No boring parts, no parts that feel like, what the fuck, why is this in the movie? Everything is relevant to moving the story forward. There's not a lot of characters. All of them you will care about, I promise you. Yes, it's a generic setting, but they do a fantastic job at using the lighting, sound, different aspects of the farm perfectly to set this unsettling vibe from start to finish of the movie, bro. Even the few glances of the devil himself in this movie, terrifying. I'm going to have to sleep with a fucking nightlight tonight, okay, guys? Now, is this a movie I would rewatch? Probably not on my own, if I'm being completely honest with you, right? It's one of those movies where it's like, damn, I wish I could see that for the first time again. Not a movie where it's like, fuck, I'm excited to see that again. The only reason I would see it again is if I was seeing it with like my girlfriend or like any other friends, just to get their reaction to the jump scares and to kind of hear their opinions. But out of straight like pleasure to watch it myself, personally I wouldn't. But I'm telling you, for a first time watch, this movie is fucking good, guys. You need to watch this shit. It has 91 Rotten Tomatoes for a reason. Listen, ChatGPT recommended one of the best horror movies I've ever seen. The final score overall I would give this movie, I don't know the exact fucking number, okay? I'm not gonna do the math, but let's just say an 8.5. Terrific movie. You guys should go and watch it. Goodbye.